So Anthropic released their latest and the best large language model. Comes a little while after ChatGPT or the guys at GPT announced a new GPT-4o model. Now this is a Sonnet model which sits right between the smaller Haiku and the biggest model Opus. Now this is a completely new series of models, and let's take a deep dive in, understand what new capabilities they have. There's a bunch of UI improvements as well, and obviously there's a model improvement which is to be seen and understood. So this was announced about 4-5 days back. It is available for free, very similar to following the OpenAI pattern. And it's also available on the Claude iOS app. And if you are a Claude Pro subscriber, you can get much higher rates. And we'll look at some of those parameters as to what those rates are. So this is available on Anthropic API, on AWS Bedrock, as well as Google Cloud Vertex AI if you want to try it from a cloud provider. The model costs about $3 per million input tokens and 15 per million output tokens, which is a huge number of tokens if you think about it. And the context window is much larger. Usually 128K, 128,000 words is roughly the context length that we have seen around floating, but this is much bigger than that. Now, if you see it in terms of intelligence and cost, so the cost is constant with Claude 3 series model, where we had 3 different models in 3 series. However, this has gone up in the sense of intelligence. What does it really mean? What does it translate to? That's something to be found, seen, and understood. And essentially, Claude 3 Opus still exists, but it's very difficult to say if this is better than Opus or not. It does look higher, but the cost parameter is lower for Opus. So maybe there's a bit of certain category of tasks, and let's look at the benchmarks to understand. So now they have obviously new industry benchmarks compared to pretty much everything else. And they have done a bunch of evaluation parameters around MMLU, which is the undergraduate level knowledge, coding proficiency, which is human evaluation based, and some sort of a graduate level reasoning. Now, there's a lot of complex instruction improvement, nuance grasping ability that is being talked about, which is visible here. Now, looking at the benchmarks right off the bat, best or much better in terms of everything except 2 parameters where you have graduate level knowledge with 0 shot COT, ChatGPT doing marginally better, and math problem solving, ChatGPT doing 5.5% better, which is still good. Everything else by the benchmarks, Claude 3.5 Sonnet seems to be the best model on the market. Now, if this is the best, I'm waiting out for Opus. They have added state-of-the-art vision capabilities, and again they have comparing it with the different benchmarks in the vision area, which is visual math reasoning, science, diagrams, visual Q&A, chart-based questions and stuff. They have also added a new capability which we'll take a deep dive into, where you can have assets or artifacts. So what this will do is when a user asks Claude to generate content like code, snippet, text, and etc., a dynamic workspace is created where they can actually edit, interact, and build upon the Claude's creation that is there. So basically you get a code editor out of the box, you get a GUI editor out of the box, or something of this like. So we will apply all of these capabilities and we'll be able to quickly see how this is working. So I'm just gonna see the video. So it's generating an SVG, and basically the SVG image is generated in a real time. Adding very similar on OpenAI lines, I would say that they have added more nuances or more discussions around safety and privacy. There's some sort of ASL2 and a lot of different parameters getting into safety and privacy. I'm not going to go into that. All right, let's look at the UI changes. So this looks slightly different to me. I don't know if this was the same or not, but overall this looks a little different. Like the UI is more cleaner, and you can obviously select the models here if you have access to Pro. Then you have option to add content, which will obviously just connect and pull up some information from the internet. So you can click on add content to get content, and you can click on this new artifacts button and we can just try it out. So artifacts are the playground that can help you, run code interact, play around with it. If you have some image generation, a bunch of things you can do. Basically, it's generating website designs, code, etc. for interactivity. So whatever you get from Claude, you can just run it right off it. So yeah, you need to toggle it off, and it seems to be a preview feature. So let's see how it works. So generate a code for a simple Python program building calculator. Now this is a very dumb problem for Sonnet, but let's see how it does and what do we get out of the box. All right, so it's generating the code, but at the same time, you see that you have a simple calculator built right outside, and you can basically use it. You can use to interact with it. You can make some changes, and this is essentially the playground that you have. You can also add content to it. To maybe, if you have code references, if you have documentations, all of that can be added to this. So let's see, and I don't see the buttons to run this, but we should be able to. These are just simple functions, etc. that it has. Now to run this program, you can run it using Python interpreter. So it doesn't have a run interface itself, but it is able to show you the syntax highlighting and all of that. Generate a static web page for running a calculator app. Let's see if it has a playground to have HTML, CSS, and all of that, and maybe we can see some of that. I hope it does that. Otherwise, this generation would not be that significant. It's doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so this is neat. This is good. So now you see that it has a option to go to preview mode and to go to code mode. So it has done significantly good in terms of giving you the UI, giving out the layout, having some sort of buttons interactions. 2 into 3 is equals to something. Oh, it's actually implemented the calculator in JavaScript. I was just hoping that it will give me the skeletal, but the whole calculator web page is created, which is kind of neat and cool. So let's say, let's add a little bit more complexity to this, rebuild this using React components and make the UI richer. Let's see what it does. I don't know if I'm gonna run out of credits, but looks like it's gonna generate. All right, so now it's going a React based calculator. So now the complexity has increased, and it's giving me React code. Previously it was HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So now you have a much neater or a darker theme based calculator, and well, yeah, this is super and interesting. So if you want to prototype a bunch of stuff, you should be able to do so. I really like this feature, and I'm hoping that they add more core programming languages. Again, I don't know how much can they do. It's very difficult to add a programming language interface, like do a compile and interpretation. So this kind of language is much more easier to generate on the web, but this is a super cool technology capability. All right, so that's the review for Anthropic Claude. Tell me, how did you like it? If you found this interesting, and if you're going to use it for some of your projects, put those details in the comments. And until next video, bye bye.